it is all on you this week, man.
Yes, it is. Do the intro.
Yeah. Now, Cena's going to be judging you on this intro,
Yeah, I know.
right?
So I got to make sure I do it as best as I can with some energy, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Clear the throat. Let me know when I'm ready to go.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
So just...
What number are we at? 95? 96. Hold on. 96. I got this. 96. We're ready.
We sure we're ready?
I'm ready. Yep, I'm ready. Welcome back, everyone, to the Marvel Snapcast episode 96, of course. And we have some phenomenal topics to talk about. We're going to talk about the OTAs, the Khonshu card, of course, the April cards coming, tilting, because that's one of the topics you guys wanted to talk about, the Doomsday Wonderful trailer. And of course, as always, we're going to talk about the YouTube comments of our last video. Now, I'm Ken, not Sino. I am not the top 5 best snappers in the world. Sino, because I do not snap hot fire. I'm Ken, aka the SuperTechGod, the gentleman with every variant in the game.
Every variant?
Every variant? That's right. Every variant. And I'm here, of course, with our wonderful guest, the one and only It's Guest Gaming, Mr. Sax Party himself, as Sino like to call him, the brainiac of the crew. Welcome on in, buddy. And then, of course, we have our phenomenal guest host with us today. And as the one and only Mr. Nostalgic, he's been here a couple of times, the one and only Gaming with Flash X. Welcome in, gentlemen. How you guys doing today on episode 96? You guys hype?
Absolutely. This is always hype. It's always fun to catch up with the homies and do these things and talk about all the things around this Marvel Snap game and Marvel in general.
Agreed. Perfect. I mean, this has been a crazy week, so I'm
yes.
I'm excited to talk through a couple of the things because I definitely have said my mind over the last 24 hours. I know, Ken, you've heard quite a bit of it. I don't know, Flash, if you caught any of it, but I've definitely spoken my mind a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So first, I want to say I brought the energy there, but I didn't have to scream, Sino, just to let you know. All right. So on to
shade.
Shots fired.
Of course, Sino can't make it with us this evening. He has some things that he had to take care of, but he will be back next week and he can tell me all the crap he wants to on air. But nonetheless, we're going to kick things off, of course, with the OTAs. It is Thursday, right? So as of the recording, we have some new OTAs, not a lot to go through, but we'll go ahead and discuss the first card on the list, and that is Iron Patriot, ladies and gentlemen. This is a season pass card that people really enjoy, and I think everybody's playing it. You need a 2-cost card, stick Iron Patriot in the deck. Doesn't matter what it is, put them in there. And why? Because, of course, Iron Patriot gave you a wonderful 4, 5, or 6-cost card, and if you're winning that lane, you get that negative 4 cost on that card. Sometimes you get a 0-cost 4-cost card. And because of that, a lot of people were thinking that's a little bit OP, and now he got nerfed to where it's no longer a negative 4 costs, it is negative 3 costs. Now, to me, I think it's fair. I think it's fine. Honestly, I don't think it needed to happen anyway, because a lot of conditions that go with it, right? Having to win the next turn, having to worry about, Mobius, et cetera, et cetera. But nonetheless, they see stuff in the data that shows this card is being played way too much, and that negative 4 was OP. So they had to make it happen. Flash, you're here. You're a guest. What is your take on this first nerf to Iron Patriot?
Iron Patriot, I'll start out with a very simple sentence here. Iron Patriot was arguably the best card in the game. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. What this card did was strong for several tiered reasons, right? Aside from the fact that you could get a 4 cost for a 0, which is really strong and something you apply later on in the game that's very helpful to you. The information that this card provides to you and you alone and not to your opponent is one of its core strengths, right? And it allowed it to be in a space where you could just take this card and, like you said at the top, put it into any deck you wanted to. right? Any deck that didn't need a specific line, whether it be Mr. Negative or certain discards, right? Aside from those very specific decks, you could take this card and put it into any deck. And it literally was in every other deck that wasn't those aforementioned that I just said. So it was strong for that reason. It was strong, not only that, but also now we're starting to get more and more cards that work well with this card, right? A 3-drop that follows this card up, that's whether it's Star Brand, whether you have these cards that just follow this card real well and go, yeah, you're going to win the lane. Right. And then people were playing Juggernaut and they were playing this and that. And there were too many good follow ups for this card that could almost guarantee you winning the Iron Patriot lane. And that is why it was A, arguably the best card in the game, B, a touch overpowered. And now at this point, the nerf is not even crazy, which is good. It's fine. I don't need cards to get obliterated into the Shadow Realm anymore. We don't need to do that anymore. But it goes from being overpowered to still really strong, because -3 cost is still really good. You still get to play a 4 for 1 or a 6 for 3. That's very strong. So it's not OP anymore, but this is still, it might not be the best card in the game anymore, but it is still one of the best cards in the game, hard stop.
Okay. That's fair. Yes. Your take on the card?
I had a lot of people over the last week asking me specifically about Iron Patriot. And should I get Iron Patriot? Should I spend my tokens on it? I've got it pinned in my shop. But there's an OTA coming. And as always, it's like, yeah, wait until they see the OTA. Let's see if it dodges the OTA, which would buy you potentially upwards of 2 weeks of time with the card in its condition before it could maybe get changed again in the future. And I'd always say, wait till the OTA. Well, the OTA hit. And it did get smacked differently than what I personally would have wanted. So I asked exactly why to the devs and said, hey, so I thought that, yes, because I agree with Flash, it was not even arguably, it was statistically.
Yeah, it's
the
fair.
best card. Nice, it was the best card in the game since they fixed the shield to Sam Wilson cap.
Sam Wilson, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Once they fixed that to a 0 cost, and you lost a bunch of those synergies, Iron Patriot shot up to the best card in the game. And no matter what tracker you used, it was the top used card. So it had to have been the same for their own back-end data. And I thought the solution could have been making it a 3-4. And I put that out into the world, and I saw a lot of people talking about it, you know, good, bad. And a lot of people also responded with the exact change that we got. Just make it -3. That's it. That's it. So I asked Glenn Jones himself, why go with this change versus a cost or power change? And the response to that was exclusively because this card was made to synergize specifically with very specific 3-cost cards. It had those cards. It had Juggernaut in mind clearly. It had, you know, Gladiator, Star Brand, etc. Like these big lane, even Red Guardian. These are lane winners on turn 3. So you're looking for those multitude of synergies. If you think about that for turn 4, it's a little bit harder because now you're looking at a 3-card synergy. Normally you're looking at, for example, a 1-cost card, then you're looking at a 3-cost Iron Patriot, and then maybe you can finally put down either your Cull Obsidian or your Crossbones, or, you know, like that kind of stuff. It starts to get a little bit hairy. And
it also made it awkward if you make that change, because if he pulls a 4, then you're like, well, I'll just play the 4, but then that's weird because you're like, I want the discount on the 4, but so what am I winning the lane with the 4 for?
Right. So it's this. So once it was explained further, I'm like, okay, I can understand that. That makes sense. We'll still see if this is enough, if this is good enough, because as of right now, I still think this is potentially still the best card in the game, because I look at cards like Valentina. Right. It gives you a guaranteed 6-cost card randomly, smaller pool, like 30 some odd cards, I think, or just under that, however many 6 costs there are. And it reduces its cost by 2, but also reduces the power by 2, I believe. And that's not good enough for a lot of 6-cost cards to be justified. Then you look at Agent Coulson. OK, it just generates random, but guarantees a 4-cost and a 5-cost. So this is like the weird child in between, where it's like, here, we're just going to give you a random one, but with a catch. If you win it next turn, then you get the major benefit of the card. And it's scary to think that this could have been in a world where Storm at 3 cost could have been just busted with this card too. Oof. Getting the reduction, get it flooded, and then whatever the reduced card is, just throw it in that lane to win it over because it's guaranteed to be in combination with something else and just win that lane. Like that just could have been absolutely devastating. And I play this in Scream. You can play this in Patriot. You can literally play this in Patriot. Why? You can play this in regular move. You can play this in Lockdown. You can play this in Mill. It doesn't fucking matter. Like it's just any deck. And that plug and play ability should be exclusive to tech cards. You look at cards like Shang-Chi, you look at cards like Cosmo, Luke Cage, Mobius and Mobius, the list goes on. Those cards, when certain metas are prominent, like we saw with the Scar season and synergies, that when Scar was prevalent, you saw Shang-Chi in almost 50% of decks at one point. And Shang-Chi still is in, 35 to 40% of decks right now. It's at its very danger point. But as I was having a conversation about this previously, the solution to fixing Shang-Chi is not to fix Shang-Chi. It is to fix the cards and the decks that allow his presence to be necessary. And by doing that and balancing the top down rather than the bottom up, that's how you balance Shang-Chi a little bit. So that's how they handled Scar, and the same things that, for the future, because Shang-Chi is a necessary card for the game. I'm getting off topic, but my loving point to all of Iron Patriot is that it was way too strong. And this change is healthy, but I don't know if this removes it from being a top 5 card.
It doesn't.
Right?
It still is.
No, of course. People still play the card. So it's not one if it was nothing or -1 or -2, then you're talking a little differently. But -3 doesn't really make a difference, I feel, anyway, nonetheless. So we'll see if they tweak the card some more. But right now, that's what it is. And then we're on to our next nerf. And that goes to another season pass card. And that is Galacta. Now, Galacta, interesting. She was, of course, a 4/6. And now they brought her down 1 power to a 4/5. Now she still gives that +3 power to the card that's played in the next lane, which I think that is what she was very strong about. So I'm surprised it didn't change that. And I'm happy it didn't change that. But to make her a 4/5, I don't think anybody cares, honestly, because they're still going to play this 4/6 Galacta. Now, you're looking at me like I'm bugging. So Flash, let me know why you think I'm crazy to say that.
No.
People care about that extra power. Go ahead.
You're not crazy. And I will say one thing in regards to that. I will just say the one thing. 1 point can swing the course of many games. We've seen that plenty of times. How many games have you lost by 1 point? You're like, I just needed 1 more point there. It happens every session you play Snap for multiple times. But however, this was, again, probably the best 4-drop in the game. Is it still the best 4-drop in the game? Yep, it sure is. Because she's still doing the things she wants to do. You don't play Galactic because it's like Shang-Chi. You don't care. You don't play Shang-Chi because he's a 4/3. Well, not the 3 part, at least. You don't care about that. You care about his power. You don't. You care about the ability and the effect. And taking her to 4/5, taking her from 4/6 to 4/5 doesn't change that. It's still that +3 that is absolutely devastating. And that doesn't change. This is still arguably, if not the best 4-drop in Marvel Snap.
And the question to go with that is the Galacta lane. Most times you're not winning anyway because you only have her in that lane. That's what I'm trying to say. Her and Forge. So it doesn't matter.
The person playing Galacta always throws that lane anyway. So,
right. That's
I know I'm going to win that lane. Now I have to hard contend somewhere else to try to beat this +3, +6, +9. Correct. It's still going to do that.
Correct. So guess what's your take on Galacta?
That was literally leaning into the point I was going to lean into with this card, which is at 4/6, it's helping the throw lane, which is now for the opponent an easier lane to have to contend with. Now, granted, more often than not, you're going to throw that lane. There are those moments where it comes in handy elsewise. But if you're trying to get the most value out of the card, you're kind of chucking it to the side and then using the other two lanes or one very specific focus lane as where you're going to put your next couple of cards. Look, I also see a very interesting pattern here that I think we should talk about underlying with this OTA, because I heard rumblings in a couple of different Twitch chats, not just my own, including where I rated and looking afterwards while I was, handling fatherly duties this evening. People talking about the fact that Iron Patriot and Galacta and Sam Wilson are all season pass cards that got nerfed and releasing overtuned cards.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
They did it on purpose, though.
Yeah. And I think it's worth a conversation, because I think between the three of us, we can articulate a very clear understanding, not just to business practices, but understanding where second dinner comes from in all of this, because they've talked about it before. And there are in the team answers multiple times where they've said, we'd rather release a card slightly too strong and then have to dial it back. But then even if they do dial something back, they'd rather have to take two swings at it to get it right, rather than take one and have an over aggressive slashing of said card.
Yes.
Right. There are a lot of dials on a lot of these cards that they could continue to tweak. Galacta is a perfect example. You've got a couple of dials you can change on there: cost, power, and effect. Same thing with Sam Wilson. There was like 4 or 5 different dials that they could adjust. Iron Patriot, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different dials you can adjust on that card. You've got the reduction. You've got which cost cards it can search from and pull. You've got, the turn timing on it. You've got its cost and power. There's a lot of dials that you can adjust on a card when doing a tweak. And when they release these cards, the game would rather them be very powerful, just not impenetrable. And when something is impenetrable, we've seen them take swings. When something underperforms, they boost it up relatively quickly, especially if it's a newer release, right?
Right.
I think that the conversation that some people like to try to throw out there, whether it's rage bait, whether it's, for content clicks, whether it's for whatever the reason is of second dinner intentionally doing this for monetary purposes, I 100% disagree with, because they're not trying to oversell the card to lie to the audience and then intentionally, we got their money. Okay, now let's bring it back a bunch here, guys. Because it's infuriating to think that there's this malicious, evil, like Ben Brode's in the back with his plaid going, oh, yes, good. We have their money. Like that's what it comes off like. And that doesn't make any business. If that was a known business practice from Ben Brode in like Hearthstone, they never would have seen Marvel Snap grow the way that it did.
Correct.
I don't think that holds any, argument holds any water. But the season pass cards themselves, in my opinion, should be the best cards of every month. They should, because they're behind some sort of paywall to get them early. And I don't mind them being the best cards every month and then being tweaked down to being balanced with the same level of Series 5 revere that the rest of the cards have. I don't think that that's a malicious practice. I think that's smart business. And you may not like it, but for $10 a month, it allows you to have that. And as a business, it keeps them open and still making the game. If I have a game to play, that's a win.
And that's the question I was going to have for you guys, is that I seen that these are 2 of the season pass cards and they got nerfed. I know people assume that Second Dinner is doing this on purpose, giving you the best card and nerfing it a season later. We all know Agamotto's turn is going to come next.
Oh yeah, he up next.
The Wizard of
spells. Them spells are in the target sites.
Yeah, so it's kind of as well. Needs to be right. So that's the question that I have is, what do you guys take from that? Because back to what Guest said, they want cards to come in strong and hot, and they tweak it later. But I think at some point they're going to have to make these cards perfect, because it is behind the paywall. Because then the perception will always be, make the cards OP so people could buy it. A month later, bring them to what they're supposed to be. And I think that's where people are going to start to look at it like, okay, you can make a mistake 1, 2, 3, 4 times, maybe. You can't do it 5, 6, 7, 8 times and me to sit back and go,
but it's not a mistake. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
okay,
and
right.
it's not a mistake. And that's the
It's not a
thing.
mistake. But that's what people see it as, is what I'm saying. The perception to the humans is that
correct.
They're doing this and then bringing it back. So they're going to have to try to, I think, make those season pass cards somewhere in the middle, right? Like, what would have been an issue to make Iron Patriot give -3 in the beginning? Like, what, you know what I mean? Because they knew a 0 cost card, anything that messes with energy, make reduction, is always going to be OP. So to me, being on the team, I should have been like, all right, if I was on the team, I'd have been like, okay, -4, I don't think so. Let's do a -3 to start. If the card gets no play, then we buff it. So I think that's something they should really consider in the future.
I don't disagree, but just here's the piggybacking on that specific point is I think when they did that, yes, it's like, okay, it's a little bit stronger, but they also considered cards that are in the game. When I say that, I mean tech cards, right? They do that and say, okay, will the player base and how quickly will the player base figure out just play Mobius if you want the Iron Patriot thing to not do its thing, right? So it's like, and the longer it takes where people aren't doing that, and then they're like, okay, that the player base decided that they weren't going to do that. Let's turn the dial back on the Iron Patriot. Let's make it -3 cost now instead of -4 cost, because that's literally what the answer was from the beginning. It wasn't anything else. It was just play Mobius. That was always the answer, right? But again, they release a little bit stronger, and it's not a gotcha. It's these cards are going to be a little bit stronger. They're the season pass card, and we want that excitement. But also sometimes there is a middle, and sometimes the middle is like, And I'll tell you what the middle is: Symbiote Spider-Man, because that card was like, it's fine. And some people hi Brady, because Brady's gonna go, he's one of the stands for Symbiote Spider-Man. But I'm like, that card is like, And that was the season pass card for that month. All the other cards that month were pretty much better than that card. So it was like, I think that was their okay, let's see. Yeah, right. As like they took that card and was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And they had to buff that card. And then it was like, yeah, that doesn't go as well. That doesn't go over as well. It doesn't. Nobody cared. Everybody was like, Symbiote Spider-Man came out and it was like, oh, okay. How is it? It's okay. It works in this Galactus thing and Black Panther. And everybody was like, yeah, but that's so easy to stop. Yes. Okay. Well, not really. I'm going to skip it. And you can't have your player base go, I'm going to skip the season pass card, because that's the whole premise is buy the season pass. It's the best value in the game. It's literally the best value thing you can do with your money in the game.
Yep.
And it's your showcase card. So it's like, you can't have the player base going, I'm probably going to skip that. They can skip spotlights. That's cool. That's what they're designed for. And I like how the new spotlight cards are being more designed where they fit into specific archetypes a lot. And if you're a player that doesn't play that archetype, you're like, that's okay. I'll pass on. Khonshu is a good example. It's a discard card. If you don't play discard, you ain't playing Khonshu. You don't got no use for that. But I'm not going to stay too much on it. But to talk about that, you look at season pass cards like Nimrod, right? You don't pay Destroy, you don't need Nimrod, but Nimrod is still a great card. I will say, I think the older season pass cards, like the yesteryear cards, are kind of like much different than now. Like Miles Morales was the season pass card for that first launch month in October. Like that's crazy. Like we're in a different place now. But
it's true.
But I think my whole point is that people will still buy the card, right? Even if they fit, like, because people still bought Symbiote Spider-Man because they're fans of Symbiote Spider-Man.
I think less people play Galactus. Some of these other ones, though.
No, I get it. I mean, listen, I think the most one was probably Loki, and Loki was the most broken card
Loki
forever.
Was broken.
Yeah, that's its own conversation.
But next time, I'm about to say, but we'll talk about that later on. Let's go on to the next card. And then we're going to talk about the buffs now, guys. And I'm going to go into another season pass card, and that's Sauron. One of my favorite cards from back in the day. Sauron is now went from a 3/4 to a 2/2. Now, some people say it's a buff, people say it's a nerf because it no longer works with Surfer. But I think to play this card on curve, this is flawless. This is a buff to me, the way I see it. So I'm all about it. I'm a fan of it. I love this change to Sauron. And again, season pass card getting tweaked. I mean, it took forever, but nonetheless, here we go. I think we see more Sauron Shuri or Sauron ongoing decks happening currently. And I see how you guys' face are looking at me.
Well,
I'm gonna let Guess kick it off. I'm gonna let Guess kick it off. What is the matter with Sauron? Let me hear why
there's
you look
nothing
at
the matter with Sauron. It's whoever the hell you hang out with. Who the fuck was running Sauron and Surfer?
Nobody that I know.
I'm sorry. Yes, they were, because they were playing it with Starbrand and they were playing it with all the other 3-cost cards and the 4-cost cards. Yes, they were playing Surfer Starbrand.
That sounds like a terrible.
Wait.
That was my whole thumbnail. I put no Surfer, no Surtur, and no what's it called?
Oh yeah, I remember you did that. I remember that.
Yes, because people were playing Surfer with Sauron. Go ahead. Let me hear it.
When that card, first off, when Starbrand dropped, yes, normally you go 3-cost card goes in Surfer. Right. And it did.
Right.
Yeah.
But Sauron was watching from the depths of my collection with dust on his bill.
Not even on the sideline. He was behind the bleachers.
But he did show up for Starbrand though. Were we bugging? Did we not see a lot of Sauron Starbrand?
Am I crazy? Sure. All of the Starbrand decks I played or saw. Yes. I did not see a Sauron Surfer.
Intriguing.
Anywhere. I'd love to hear this in the comments if you saw this, yes or no. If you saw actual Surfer Sauron together, please correct me, because I never saw that shit anywhere. That's part of my confusion.
Okay. All right, go ahead, next.
But for real, with 2/2 Sauron, this needed to happen a while ago. A long time ago. This needed to happen because the second we knew about Starbrand, we knew that, oh shit, we're going to put it in a Sauron deck. And we all found out real quickly, it feels awkward because you're fighting for turn 3 of what do you want to play. Yep. The 10 to get the priority and the whatever you're going to try to do, or the try to get down the Sauron, because then later you're going to be able to put the 10 with no downside. And it was a very clunky feel for that deck. And I think Sauron in and of itself, it's safe to say, is its own deck, right? It's like Phoenix Force. Yep. It's what it is. The downside to Sauron is that it can very easily get outpowered nowadays. And even though this brings this deck up from being a D tier to a C tier deck, it's still a C tier deck because even if everything goes right, Starbrand on 3, you're looking at, let's say, Typhoid Mary on 4, Red Skull on 5, and Taskmaster on 6. That's it. You just put that's barely enough to win one lane in some games. And it's an awful truth, because there are just so many other combinations that are crazy that this card needs. This card needs, and I can already see Tech's gonna get pissed by this, and I don't care. This card needs the equivalent of an Infinite with a downside. It needs It legitimately, hear me out here, right?
Bullshit. Let me hear it. Now.
Make Infinite want
to hear it.
This card needs.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be really fantastic. Make Infinite's ability ongoing. But legitimately, I'd be down for that. I think that this card needs some kind of lane winner, because all of those big cards, when you remove their ongoings, they're just not. And it's the reason that you didn't see, when you first start doing deck building in the game, if you get Patriot, you immediately, you're doing your Series 3, finally got Patriot. I can actually use my, Abomination, and I can use the thing, and I can make that deck work. And then what are the cards you always end up cutting? The 5 cost, the 4 cost, and the 3 cost, because they just don't do enough. And Sauron is basically doing the exact same thing, and it's still not enough. So as much as this helps that deck is still not relevant in any competitive format whatsoever.
No.
All right. Flash, your take on the Sauron change?
100% agree with everything Guest said. It's not enough. This deck has always struggled with that. In the time when it was good, and that was with Shuri, even with Shuri now, it still struggles to because like you're like, okay, I could put up 28 here, but if I'm playing Destroyer, I'm playing Discard, or I'm playing this on that, I can clear 28. That's easy. Yeah. I made a 28 power Apocalypse last night just by doing regular stuff. I'm like,
I love everything you guys are saying.
This doesn't clear anything for it to be relevant. And that's probably good for like early game players, and that's cool. And I get all of that, but like, it just doesn't do enough, even with Shuri. And it's funny that the thing I just said about Infinite, because I literally just stumbled across that in my brain. I'm like, if you made Infinite ongoing and it fit into this deck, that
now
would be
we're talking. Yeah, now we're talking.
Would be interesting. Because then you could start talking about pivoting. You could even throw Shuri back in. Shuri the Red Skull, that's 28. Now you can fight somewhere else on the last turn with a 20 power Infinite. That's crazy. Okay, now I'm interested. But until we get something like that, this deck is still just going to be where it's at, just like Guest said, middling around in the C tier, which is fine. It's fine. Some people can have fun with it, and you can win a couple of cheeky games here and there, depending on what you're playing against. But it's not enough to do. This makes this deck a little bit more cohesively consistent, and it doesn't feel as clunky. Like Guest says, you're not fighting for what to do on turn 3. It gives it a clear play line. The lines are very clear on what to do with this deck now. Right. So that's now fine. That you don't, and that's fine, but it's not good enough for it to be competitive in any real aspect.
You know what this actually does? Wait, one last thing. You know what this actually makes it do? It makes it compete with the turn 2. Because turn 2, you're either putting down Lizard or
armor.
You're playing down armor.
Yeah.
Protecting all of the things that have no ability. It's just, it needs further help in some way.
Before you play the armor, because then you're just sending armor to the Shadow Realm and making it useless.
100%. 100%.
So here's, I mean, I'm not going to harp on this, but you guys are just hilarious to me on the sense of this deck doesn't do enough. And they get so much big power cards out there. And we still are debating that Infinite doesn't need a buff. It blows my mind. The fact that you guys are saying that.
Ongoing.
I know. Listen, I'm with you. I'm just saying, if the other two were here, they were arguing with me.
I'm right here.
You just prove, I know, but you just proved my point by saying the Sauron deck is not strong enough because 28 power APOC, right? And all these other power creeps, but it is what it is. Pixie also got a buff, and she is from a 2-1 to a 2-2. Pixie's fun, but you know when Pixie gets played? With Infinite. That's basically it. Go ahead. Guess what's your take on Pixie getting a buff?
Oh, Pixie.
The next two cards, actually. But yeah.
I think Pixie's problem was never just like its power. It could be a 2-5 and people will just be like, all right, whatever. Like it.
Right.
Pixie needs something further. And I don't know what that is. Whether it's a starts in your hand, whether it's you always draw this on turn, guaranteed to draw on turn 3. So that way it's off curve, but then you get it at least if you play it into the deck, like something along, it needs some other kind of like insurance mechanic to make the deck happen. Like I would
just Mobius.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't mind Pixie, for example, as a 4-5. No, 4-5. Always draw this on turn 4. Like I would not mind that at all.
Chavez.
That's the problem. It's going to spin the deck. Yeah.
Is it though?
Not really, because it would be more like Domino and Quicksilver. It would be like Chavez.
Yeah. So because remember Domino specifically, because it's a later card. Domino can pretty much never start in your opening hand and never get drawn on turn 1, if I remember correctly, with the way that it's programmed. So if you do the same thing here for the first half of the game, so for the first 3 draws
in your deck,
she's always going to be stuck in your deck. So you're helping the first 3 turns. You're not helping specifically turns 4 and 5 because she's a low power play on turn 4 and only affecting 2 cards. Like something along those lines.
And that sucks.
makes Pixie a lot more interesting. But it makes it a lot more interesting to me. Then do a 3/3 version of the same thing.
Why so low? Make either a 1 or a 2 cost. I mean, she's a 2 card because the problem becomes you don't want to draw too many cards before Pixie's ability hits your deck. You want to do it as early as possible. So to make her a 4, I think that sucks because like you said, you only affected 2 cards. You want to kind of do it early. So to buff her, you make her a 1 something. You make her a 1 cost. So you get to play on turn 1 the same way they did the Loki. If you get to play Pixie on turn 1, you're going to be very happy. So negative, however, is very strong. So I get why negative should stay a 4, right? Because negative's ability is very strong, but Pixie's it's hit or miss. So I think you give her the Loki treatment, then people will play her more.
I think people will definitely play her more, but it's a matter of making the card good and making the card.
I think should be good at 1.
At 1, you have a 25% chance to be a 33% chance to have her in your opening hand. Plain and simple. You have a 33% chance to get it, which means your deck is already low in consistency. If your whole deck is based on that idea, yet alone with the way that it is, you're still trying to get this to happen by turn 2. So it's 5 out of 12 cards in opportunity. That's really not good. And that's why I'm saying I think it needs some kind of insurance of you will guarantee draw this card on a certain turn so that way you can get the thing to happen. But you're going to have to catch up now because you got the good thing to happen. You know, like it's something along those. I don't know. This is why they don't pay me to figure this shit out because it needs more help.
The only problem with her is she does not guarantee that your cost will swap. Your 6 cost can remain 6,
which does suck.
That's the problem.
That does suck.
Right. Correct.
This is where I come in because
go ahead.
As Mr. RNG, shout out to my man Prashant. As Mr. RNG,
yes,
I should love this card. I should be all about everything that Pixie does. And I tried. When this card came out, I was like, oh, Pixie, let's do this. Let's do the Pixie thing. I finally got Pixie. I remember one game going into turn 6, there were 2 cards left in my deck. And I was like, oh, I still got Pixie. Okay, so here's the plan. I could flip one. It was like Wasp and a 6-drop. So I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to play Pixie. Or I don't remember if I played Pixie early or whatever. I'm watching my deck tracker and I'm like, okay, I got 2 cards left in my hand because one of the locations gave me Blob and my whole deck was like, and there was 2 cards left. I was like, oh, bet. One of them was Wasp and one of them was a 6-drop. I was like, perfect. I was like, I could get a 6-drop out of this. Do you know that 6-drop came into my hand and it costed 6? And it pissed me off to so far the ends of the earth. Right. And I was like, oh, I'm done with this card because that's stupid to me. Change this card to work where it has to shuffle everything. Not like, it could shuffle something and it's because all basically this card does, it takes all the costs and throws them up in the air and they can all land back in the same place. I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
That's a dumb design in my opinion. And it's just me, but if it's going to shuffle all the costs, let it shuffle all the costs, period, and let them all end up being different. I don't understand why it works the way it does.
I got you. The reason you can't do that from a programming standpoint is that you can build a deck where it's just mathematically impossible that every card will change cost with another card of a different cost.
Right.
So I know it's an extreme example, but if you built a deck that has Wasp, Infinite, and then all 3-cost Surfer cards, and then you Pixie, and you've got your Wasp and Infinite in hand, what are those 3-cost cards going to do? They're going to swap with each other and then just crash the game. Like it's just, it doesn't. You can't. It's not going to be able to do it that way. They could put in an exclusionary clause into it where. Right. Maybe they can figure out some way to program it that it can't receive its own cost again, like the Infinite 6, even though if it could pull the not Agatha, but like the Dr. Doom's 6 cost, it could attribute it to it, but it couldn't re-pull its own 6 cost, from the bag of lottery balls. It can't pull its own number once again. Like that's the idea. I wish that was the case for this card. It's probably a programming nightmare to make that happen. which is why they don't do it. And I would rather them focus on much more important and necessary things in this game.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So, you know what? Thanks for the power. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Next.
Make it a one cost. It'd be a whole lot better. Just like Loki, right? They made Loki a one cost. There it is. The next card that also works with Infinite is Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider now gave Infinite that extra buff that Infinite been asking for. Ghost Rider goes from a 4/4 to a 4/5. So now when you discard the Infinite, you get a 25 power in that lane. This change to me, same as Pixie's change and Galacta. I don't. It is what it is. It is what it is. The additional power and reduction in cost doesn't really matter because these cards weren't utilized for power; they were utilized for their ability.
Correct.
Flash.
I think while this doesn't move the needle on this card, you always have to remember this card is in conjunction with something else. So it's getting that one power, but now that lane is getting an extra power because it's pulling. Right. It's already pulling, ideally, in a big card. Now, riddle me this, okay? While I don't think this is necessarily try to move the needle on the power of this card, it's a move the needle on getting more eyes on this card because Khonshu just came out. We got the first Ghost Rider that just came out. So we have a bunch of people playing this card again. So it's like second dinner is like, oh, hey, don't forget about original Ghost Rider because that works in this archetype as well. Because now we're in a world where you're looking to discard things that are low cost or low power because of the first Ghost Rider. People are looking at Iron Man and Gore and hell, even Dracula, et cetera, Ghost Rider. Now we're in a world where you can 86 a Iron Man with your first Ghost Rider and bring it back with OG Ghost Rider. Now that 1 point matters a lot more. Now that lane's not a 4/8. Like, hypothetically, nothing else is there. Now it's not a 4/8 lane. Now it's not an 8 power lane. Now it's a 10 power lane because of Iron Man getting pulled back in. So it might not matter a lot, but those are some of the examples now where you're like, okay, Iron Man was the only thing I discarded because of first Ghost Rider in a scenario. Right. I can bring it back with OG. And now that's a little bit more power in that lane because Ghost Rider has this extra point.
I'm with you. Guess?
I have 2 points on this card. And that's it. First one, I don't give a shit.
With you.
Secondly, I'm just going to throw this out there into the world and see what happens. Here. Okay?
Yeah.
The first, tap in when you catch on. Okay? First Ghost Rider, Corvus Glaive, Lady Sif, Ghost Rider, Silver Samurai, Doctor Doom, Iron Man, Mystique.
You're missing? Not really suggesting a C5 situation here. Is that really what you're trying to put over on me here?
Yes. So,
yep.
Lord. C5 discard. Is that what just happened here?
Have fun, world.
Wow. You know what's crazy about that is C5 is already the only deck I even like to play at all. I don't like Cerebro. It's pretty much the meme deck of Marvel Snap. But like C5 was the only one I liked to play because C5 was actually the only Cerebro deck where you didn't actually have to play Cerebro. And it was generally strong enough to just win on its own accord because so many fives all over the place.
Yeah.
That is an interesting proposition. I'm not gonna lie. That's not crazy.
It's not crazy. That's the thing. It's not crazy because you could try to do a Khonshu thing, but then it gets all screwed up. But
that would be tough. But I was thinking that too. I was like, a base Khonshu, it could work.
Yeah, but then you have to do only one Khonshu, discard, though. And that's it. Yeah,
you have to be very careful not to discard Khonshu,
which is so counterintuitive. Did it. Exactly. Like it's so counterintuitive, but it's not out of the realm of reason. It's not out of the realm of reason.
Because Cerebro's the meme deck, somebody's going to try to do it. As long as I don't discard Khonshu, I'm fine. That's what they're going to do.
Or you got to discard him 3 times. So make sure he's out of your hand.
Then what's the point of having him?
I'm just saying, if you do it by accident.
Especially, you know what? Throw in Wolverine too.
Don't play him.
Throw in Wolverine.
Oh, that's right.
Wow. Yeah, because one discard on Wolverine gets him to 5.
He gets to 5.
Wow. That's
what about Ant-Man? Ant-Man goes to 5 now too, doesn't it?
Ant-Man does too.
Could put him in there. He's a good play. He's a good card to just play on turn
1. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Wow.
I'm telling you, it's not crazy.
Hey guys, stop it. Stop it. This is
oh my God.
This is the nerfs and the buffs of this week OTAs. I know we talked about a lot of things here because we're definitely passionate about some of these cards and these changes.
Sarah! Sorry.
I wish Sauron, Jesus Christ.
Sarah. She's a 5/5 now.
Oh, yeah. Sarah. Yes, you put Sarah in the list. Stop.
I'm not crazy.
I do really wish we would have saw some other cards get some changes. But nonetheless, we'll leave that for next week. We're going to the card that came out this week. Right, Stop screaming out 5 power cards. I know you want to. So
Take right
the next card on the list is Khonshu. Speaking of the devil, Khonshu now was very highly anticipated. A lot of people gave it a lot of high scores, including myself, right? I think Khonshu is great in one deck, and he's great because he is a second win condition. So to me, I'm going to give Khonshu the double goal it deserves at this moment. I don't think it's any better than that. I don't think it's bad at all. I just think that it's not as strong as we all thought it would be. Now, of course, if you pull it off as a first win condition, the victory is yours. This is why I made a deck with Adam Warlock and Blink, because that's the only way to guarantee that I get this card in my hand, or on the last turn, I get to pull him out and he does what he needs to do. Even then, it's okay. It's a good win condition, but original discard with him as the backup is flawless. Flash, you're the discard guy. What's your take? I know you love Hela too, but we're not going to talk about that. Not you.
Lord have mercy. Okay. Naturally, I'm a huge fan of Khonshu. That should go without saying. Let's just get that out the way. Yes. It's a discard card. I'm great. I'm here for it. Now, I had said this before the card released. Up until now, the card being out and us getting to tinker with it and use it in different ways, different discard decks. Khonshu allows you to do a thing, and especially I'm going to talk about very standard, traditional Dracula discard. It allows you to do a thing that you couldn't do before, and that thing is discard Dracula. Whether that be by mistake or on purpose, you could discard Dracula, discard Morbius, discard whatever, and as long as you have Khonshu in tow, you get to bring him back with X amount extra power, whether it be 5, 8, or 12. Ideally 12. But that's territory that discard never was able to tread. And they used to, at one point in time in the early days, you'd be like, well, maybe I could play Ghost Rider in here and I could bring back the thing. And then that was never good because it's too clunky. It's too much going on. This card allows you to play Khonshu and Apocalypse and Dragonhold. And this is now a world where we can fit Corvus Glaive back in because the random discard doesn't hurt as much because Khonshu can go get whatever important thing got discarded.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, well, you could just play Hela. You could just do this. I was like, yeah, but Hela's boring. And Hela has all these different conditions. I'd rather be very strategic in my discards and bring back what I want to bring back. Now it's like, okay, and now not just traditional discard. Now you're talking about a discard where you're discarding Iron Man, discarding Gore. You're discarding these things with the first Ghost Rider, right? Brood. Yeah. You can bring these things back with Khonshu with a crap ton of extra power because I don't know if anybody else, I mean, y'all obviously have, but the copy that. But the stuff in the going on with Iron Man, bringing Iron Man back as a 12 power base card is absolutely mind-boggling. Even if he's in a lane by himself, he can solo a lane a lot of times. Yeah. So that is just very good.
Guess your take. Oh, sorry, Flash. What's your rating for it? Plastic, silver, gold, platinum, or diamond?
I would, for me, because I'm probably high, I probably had to put it somewhere. It's not a world beater per se.
So it's not diamond, right?
Yeah.
It's not diamond, but I'm hesitant to not just platinum. Put it in gold. I think I'm probably want to put it in
platinum.
I think it is very good. I think it's not necessarily, it moves the needle on traditional discard, right?
Yes.
But
100%.
we're still figuring out these other places and these other kind of finite places that it can go into that maybe landed in platinum eventually. It might feel like goldish now, right? But
yeah.
And even for the Hella players, actually, you can play this and have Khonshu be the thing and Hella actually be the backup. Where it's like if you didn't discard the certain things and you did a little bit more than you wanted to, now you could just play Hella instead and have her bring back a few of those things, bring back all of those things. So it can go into different directions, but I'm going to sell on platinum because discard stand.
Okay. I guess your take on the card and your rating.
This is the card that I love to hate, where it is such an infuriating card to mess with because you know the ceiling is so high with it. And there are so many good scenarios where, you know, we were contemplating like, okay, you look at Gore, you look at Iron Man, we were trying to get Brood in the conversation as a lane clog or as a resurrect, like, because when you get that to happen, it's just absolutely wild and insane and feels so good.
Agreed.
But every cheeky shell we were working with this card never felt consistent. It never felt like this is going to break the meta. It never hit that threshold for me. And then when starting to dabble back into what we'll call traditional discard, it did find a lot more success when you were just literally throwing everything into the discard pile and just kind of hoping. And then you're in this very delicate balance of how many cards do I need to have that do a discard versus how many target cards am I looking to revive specifically? And I personally ended up feeling like we still to this day have not found the best version of this. We've all found like, hey, I had good luck with this in traditional, or I had good luck in this Wong build, or I had good luck with Grandmaster. But every person, it's a case by case individual pocket meta that moment for that person basis, not a true amount of longevity within one specific build. That's, you know, because normally you'll find a deck, it works, and then everybody has like, oh, I don't have that card, I'll substitute this. And you change maybe one or two of the cards. We haven't found that with Khonshu in 2 days, but I do think that it will happen, which is why I love to hate this card, because I want its ceiling to be known already so I can really just dive into that deck in particular, because it's a lot of fun. I love playing this card, but I keep losing with this card and breaking 50-50, if not just at like 45%. And it's infuriating that everybody's pocket meta experience with this is so individually different.
It is
that
100%.
That it's not just me having a frustration. There's very, very wide extremes depending on what percentage of infinite or what group of 10 ranking you're in.
That's true. That's true.
Very, very frustrating.
You're right.
Infinite players are having a great time with this card.
We're having a blast. Correct.
Absolute blast. When you're in low ELO hell, it is a grind and a pain in the ass because RNG hurts you with this card more than it ends up helping you because your opponent ends up getting it and you don't. And it's just, you try to play strategically and then the random thing happens for your opponent very often. And it's because of percentage chance in lower ELO hell versus more calculated plays and no bots, obviously, in infinite of any percentage. So it's a very, it's a card I love to hate, where I'm going to tell people get this card, but just know that there is no definite answer yet of this is the build you want to aim for right now on day 2 or 3 of the card.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right there, Tech. It looks like you need a cigarette or something. Like you're just like, no, I'm good. You're barely waking up, or you hate what I just said. Like,
no, I agree with you because listen, the list I'm playing, and the video will be out tomorrow or Saturday, has Sage, Brood, Iron Man, like, and when these cards come back, and it has Blink, and that's what I'm trying to say. I treat it like Hella a little bit, right? Because I blink the card to get Khonshu out if Khonshu's not in my hand, and it works. because you're guaranteed to get that blink. Because I mean, you're guaranteed to get Khonshu. Khonshu is the only 6-cost card in your deck, right? So if you're playing everything out to discard and then you blink it at the end, in come Khonshu. So even if Sage, Iron Man, Brood comes back with that 5 power, I'm happy. I'm winning that extra lane. So for me, it feels consistent to get Khonshu, but you still can lose the game depending. You understand? Because of what's being played. So I agree with you. I'm having a good time with it because I'm in the infinite rank. So we're playing a little differently with it.
Yeah.
But those who are not are being frustrated because it's not doing the thing they wanted to do every time. So you're right. I think it's going to take time for people to figure out what's good with it outside of original discard. And that's the kind of route I wanted to go, because even my list has Surfer in it, right? Because it's the Brood Surfer. There you go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, take a chance and try to win some other way. But I totally agree with you. That was
it's a gold point. It's a gold to me.
Yeah, it is a gold. And I think like the last point I'll have real quick is just that, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And I tell people this a lot of times, even with the deck that I built recently that Glazer put on the video the other day. You can take 2 packages that have strengths and find a way to kind of merge them together in a cohesive way. Yeah. And with Khonshu now, that actually can be its own package where you look at Khonshu, you look at maybe even something like the first Ghost Rider, and then you take like an Iron Man and a Gore, and you're like, you take that 4 and go, okay, I can take, and even if you add one more discard piece, probably like a Blade or something like that, or a Sif or whatever.
Blade is there.
You take that package, you take those 4 or 5 cards and go, okay, what can I add these to make this really strong with another package?
Correct. Yes. And that's what it is right now.
Yeah. I tried that.
Agreed.
And that's where because it's true. Like I was trying Ronin shenanigans, Darkhawk shenanigans, Black Bolt Stature shenanigans, and you know what I just got? Shenanigans.
What?
That's it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Jeez. All right. So speaking of wonderful cards, we have some April cards coming out. We're not going to dive too much into it at this time. We are going to give our preview stats for the 2 cards that are coming out, of course, and that is the Season Pass card that everybody loves to hate for some weird reason. I'm not even talking about only in Marvel Snap, but outside, I'm hearing a lot of people really not happy with this character, and that's Captain Carter. You guys, how do you guys feel about the new Season Pass card that's coming out, I should say?
So as a Season Pass card, because for those...
ability,
go ahead.
And sorry. I say, and the ability is a little different than normal, right? It's ongoing where you add this card's power to your back row of cards. So if you think about, this is the first time we're seeing this. So your front row would be the ones at the top, right? And the back row would be the ones at the back. So, but some
very good.
Well, you know, but no, because some people were confused because they were like, well, is the bottom the front? Like, do you go bottom up? Or do you go top bottom? And I'm like, if it's me, you go top bottom.
I think it's going to be top bottom. Front should be top and bottom should be
That's what I assume, right? So
placements of the cards when they land or are played. It's a very clear 1, 2, 3. Or moved. It's 1, 2, go down, 3, 4. Right. So that 3 and 4 are your back row. Yeah.
Right. So this card have a unique ability, and it's a 4/3. So
it's
ongoing. So you can do things with not Moonstone, but you can do things where you can buff this card either with Onslaught, Mystique, etc. And now you're doubling that power of this card. Or if you buff this card and that back row gets some phenomenal power. I mean, I think this is going to be a very unique ongoing piece, and it's going to be super fun. But like I said, a lot of people are giving it heat. Nonetheless, I think for this Season Pass card and how I feel about it, my preview rating is already going to be a platinum card. Flash, how do you feel about Captain Carter?
I like this because this isn't just, and I just spoke about this the other night. What we're starting to get cards, and it's only been 2.5 years. This game's been global release. Oh, not even the full half.
Yeah.
We're starting to get versions of cards just repackaged with the text a little bit different or changed in a little bit way where you're like, damn, that sounds like a card that's already out, right? Much like Fastos and the upcoming Surge, things like that, where you're like, that kind of functions like a card that we already have, right? And we're going to talk about Ultron, which is, we'll get to that, but like, this is different. this is a unique card that doesn't do what anything else does in the game. We're getting another card that does the front row, back row thing. It was a Prodigy, I think, that works with the back row stuff.
Yeah.
So it affects the front row from the back row. I'm like, okay, that is different. That's a different thing. And I think now my personal opinion is that a lot of people aren't liking this because the game is starting to enter in that realm of being slightly more complex.
Like Yu-Gi-Oh! 100%.
Right. It's entering a complex realm with some of the cards. And people just I just want the straightforward. I just want big power. And this is the same thing why people hate Shang-Chi. They just want to make big power things and they don't want it to be disrupted. I'm like, well, that's not how card games work.
Sandcastles.
Like I should be able to knock your sandcastle down. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. But this is a very strong ability, I think. And once we figure out ways to make it bigger, like you said, talking about Onslaught, talking about Mystique, like these are things that even if you found another way to buff it, you're talking about other ways to buff it while it's in your deck. You're talking about like Okoye, or you're talking about Nakia in hand, right? Because she's a 3. You haven't played this yet. You could play Nakia on 3. You buff this. Now you're talking about, again, extra power, extra
Galacta.
things. Galacta. You play Galacta on 4. You play Captain Carter on 5. Now you're cooking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like this expands the realm of thoughtful deck building and like, okay, let me try this unique thing. But a lot of people are uncomfortable with just not being able to do the standard thing. And this card represents a card that you can't just plug it and play it anywhere per se. You gotta think a little bit like, okay, I could build this, I could do this and this and this. And that, not everybody, but that bothers a lot of people that they can't just take the new thing and plug it into a thing that's already in the game and just keep going. So, but I think this card is going to be very strong. I agree. I mean, it's a season pass card. It's going to have a lot of, but people have to think outside the box to make it go. It's not just put a 4. And it's like, people are like, well, 3 power is not that much. It's like, no, but figure out ways to make it more than 3. It's not
Captain
that hard.
America, Moonstone, like, come on. We're going to do a lot of craziness. Exactly.
It's going to work well. Just like you said, Captain America is going to work well with that. So, yeah.
So what's your early preview take on it? Gold, platinum, silver?
I'm putting in platinum. I'm putting in platinum because
with you.
This is good season pass card. Like it's got good season pass card written all over, but it's not inherently clear to everybody that this is good season pass card.
This definitely got to be a turn 6 play the way I look at it. Try to dodge those enchantments.
That's what I'm saying. Play it on turn 6. Hey, put in a deck with Zabu. You could play it on with 3 with something else.
Yeah. Guess your take.
Guess
first, like Zabu.
No. I'm just. Please expand further on why you would want to play the card that needs to be in the front row on turn 6.
I was gonna say that's probably why he looks confused. Because
so let me break it down to you. So
you have to leave a lane like almost empty for that.
Correct. Think about the Sage list I play now, right? With the whole Onslaught, Sarah, all those cards. You can go ahead and play a bunch of cards on the last turn. And
you could play this with Mr. Negative.
Yeah, that too. Right. So that's what I'm saying, to be able to play it on the last turn when you have extra cards that you can play. That's
this with Mr. Negative is crazy.
Because you got to think about it, right? Unless you, I mean, you can play Cosmo, right? But that's the only problem is trying to dodge Enchantress is my whole thing. So I'm just trying to think about ways to dodge Enchantress, right? But worry about that. Of course, in the beginning, we're going to be playing it turn 1, turn 2, because I feel that nobody's going to play Enchantress that early. But Rogue will be played. I'm sure a lot of people going to play Rogue. So it's like we're going to test it out that way. But at some point, you're going to say, you know what? How can I play this on the last turn and be able to win? And I think being able to do Onslaught Sarah shit.
You have this in the front row and Iron Man in the back, bro.
I know. It's going to be crap. Man,
which means there's another card in there too. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's going to be crazy.
So, okay. So with this card, I very much so. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Just really quickly.
Before you forget it, go.
This means that Captain America and Captain Carter canonically, right, go in the front row and they're your front line cards. They're your first line of defense. And then they give power to the shit in the back. Oh my God.
It's going to be very interesting.
that works so well.
I don't think she works with the shield though, which sucks.
No, forget about the shield.
Yeah, they are the shield.
Because she's a captain.
Nah, she doesn't.
She's not Captain America. No. All right. I don't know. I was reaching. Sorry.
I know it's okay.
Yeah,
If Bucky doesn't get a bonus, she doesn't either.
That's
all right. So with Captain Carter, I think that this card is probably going to be one of those cards that by the Friday of that week, people will realize, oh, I was uncertain about this. I have to have it. Because when you think about what this card needs to do, it needs very specific triggers. Number one, you want it in the front row. Number two, you want to ideally try to buff it in any capacity, way, shape, or form. And number three, you want to get 2 cards, so a full lane behind it. That's a lot of things that you want to get to happen. And thinking about the decks and the cards and the pieces that benefit the most from those kinds of full lane synergies, right? You look at cards like Ant-Man. Ant-Man absolutely loves this for the same exact reason, right? Dazzler loves full lanes. Punisher, even, because everyone's going to be playing it. Punisher's going to love this. He's a guaranteed 3/7 in your own deck. Mojo, are you seeing the pattern? This is the
life, baby.
This is the most friendly. Let me be really clear here. This is the most friendly season pass card for new players that we have had in a long time. More so than Gwenpool, more so than Galacta. This is screaming, hey, get me if you're a new player within the last 3 months, because many of us have said this multiple times over. The number one deck you should be playing when you start Marvel Snap, Series 0, 1, 2, or even the beginning of Series 3 is any variation of an ongoing deck. Any variation of it.
Girl Dino. Yeah.
Ongoing is strong at every level of the game.
Yeah. And what we've seen is when ongoing is too strong, it's only because of new cards. Look at what happened with Ms. Marvel. When Ms. Marvel came to the game, think about it. Do you remember back when Ms. Marvel first? Can you shut up and let me finish a fucking sentence? Jesus Christ, man!
I asked a question.
I didn't finish talking.
Okay,
Jesus.
I thought you wanted to answer it.
Dear God, I miss Sino. Listen, so no, but for real though, like, look, if you think about the Ms. Marvel season in particular, the best deck in the first 2 weeks of that season was the Series 1 plus Ms. Marvel deck. It was Spectrum, Onslaught, Claw. It was all of those cards. That was the best deck in the game. And that's what's going to happen again, but it's going to take more than a day to figure out. It's going to take 4 days. It's going to, because people are going to realize how many cheap, low ongoings there are. They're going to start playing them. You're going to play into the mirror matches by playing cards like Mojo and Punisher that have not seen play in quite some time. And Captain Carter is a very easy tell of, hey, I'm going to fill this lane by the end of the game. Okay, Mojo, Punisher. You're going to start seeing that kind of stuff built into a deck. And I also think that from a deck building standpoint, moving past the ongoing part, I think that this card is a lot more complicated than people also will realize when they start looking at other shells, because it's going to do something that I don't think necessarily fully exists yet. The closest we'll get to it was probably bounce at one point, which is you want to play a lot of littles. Wait, it's turn 4. Okay. 1 big 4-cost card. Okay. Go back to all of your lots of littles again. And that's going to be cool to watch, because people are going to want to do that because they need to have full lanes. So I expect this to be popular in something like Silver Surfer, for example, where it benefits from Galacta, it benefits from Forge, it benefits by having a Brood go 1-2 and fill up that lane super fast. Lots of littles that get dropped down. You're going to see it with Bounce. You're going to see it with Zoo. You're going to see it with, all those, Thanos is going to love this card for the same reasons. I think because it's fill it up. It's just fill it up stuff. And fill it up stuff is very fun in Marvel Snap because you get to play more cards, and this is what invites that. I'm excited for this card because I think people are undervaluing how good it's going to end up being.
Agreed.
On both perspectives, playing into your opponent's lane because they're going to fill it up, as well as benefiting your own, obviously. So I'm going in with a very solid platinum on this card because I think this screams Surfer for me. I cannot wait to get my hands on this card.
Yeah, I can't wait to play Mrs. Top 5 all day too. Echo everywhere. Let's go.
Oh yeah. Snipe it with Echo.
Problem. So.
The funny thing about it is that, just real quick, is that I'm realizing that you don't even have to fill the lane. Because even if you just went, now granted, of course, Enchantress, but even if you just went Steve into Captain Carter, into Iron Man, and did nothing else in that lane, that's crazy because she's giving Iron Man 3, Cap is giving Iron Man 2, Cap is giving Peggy 2. Like, so he's. I didn't do the math on that, but that's a lot of power.
Yeah. Like I said, you put Moonstone in there as a problem. You put Onslaught in there as a problem.
Right. Then you could just go off on another lane and be like, okay, how do I do one of
Tribunal? The other? I'm thinking about Tribunal so much right now. That's where my head's at.
I bet.
We're going to see what happens, man. That's going to be a very interesting take. Goliath, which, again, Goliath is going to be in that deck too, because Goliath is ongoing, is +1 power for each other ongoing card you have in play, ladies and gentlemen. Not in the lane, but in play. Yeah, platinum is all around, guys. I'm giving this. This gonna be OP. So this is you're right. Goose. So like this is basically a blue Marvel for ongoings.
Yeah, or Gore.
Fantastic. This is fantastic.
This is, and we were just, and like I said, I've been talking about this a lot recently. Goliath, even in a deck that didn't go all in on ongoing, that has like a solid 5, this gets to be a 2/6. Like 2/6 is above rate. Like that's a lot. That's a lot to stick into a deck that has ongoings already. Like here's a 2/6 that has no downside. Here you go. This is not like, Lizard. It's 2/6 that has no downside unless you hit it with, Enchantress or Rogue or something like that.
Oh wait, I'm wrong. It gets +1 power. I thought it gives.
Gets plus. That's what I said, like Gore.
Oh, like that's crazy.
It's like Gore. Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's why I said Goose.
Right. If you got a full ongoing lane, ongoing board of just a bunch of ongoing cards, you're talking about a card that's 2 double digits here, like 210 without a problem, and that is crazy. That is crazy. That means this card, again, now you enter territory with what can solo a lane with Iron Man and Goliath can. You can go do all your other ongoing stuff in another lane. And if you were brazen enough to just throw a 210 Goliath in the lane with Iron Man, that's a 20 power lane with 2 cards.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this goes with Ravonna for sure. Ravonna is definitely going to love this card. Ravonna and Iron Man. Oh, and Mystique. Oh my goodness. This is so crazy.
Not even that. I'm thinking about things I'm thinking a different perspective as well with the ongoing synergies. Like you could also throw in something like Luke Cage and Typhoid Mary.
Yeah, why not? Sure.
They're ongoings. Like,
but you're not.
Lizard is a 2/6. Lizard's a 2/6.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things you could see. This is why Sauron sucks, but because this is better. Why would you play Sauron when you can leave the ongoing and undo it this way?
I literally did the count on it. Like I pulled up like my Affliction deck. The Affliction Ajax deck, 5 ongoing cards in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I believe
right now, and you can tweak it a little bit. You add this to it again. Now you're getting 2/6, 2/7 from this. This is better than Lizard, but you could also play it with Lizard.
Right?
Yeah, playing it with Luke. So you have a lot of power on small cards.
Platinum for sure.
Power on small cards.
So, guess what's your take on its early preview?
I think it's going to be a pretty solid card for the ongoing deck. I think I'm going to give it just a double gold right now, but you did get me thinking about Moonstone. So
yeah, it's going to be epic.
I wonder how Moonstone? This. Well, no. Hear me out. Like, because the way Moonstone's worded, correct me if I'm wrong. It's an ongoing, has the ongoing effects of your 1, 2, and 3 cost cards
1,
here.
2, and 3.
Yes. So she would get the +1 power thing. So now she's a 6 that gets that ability that Goliath has. So again, she can.
Not that.
She can go.
Does Goliath register multiple times?
No.
Like if she has multiple? No. Does Goliath get Like,
Plus
say
two
Moonstone is in a
if
lane.
it's two Goliath.
No, hear me out. Different lanes. Goliath in a different lane. Okay. Goliath in the left lane, Moonstone in the right lane with 3 other ongoings.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're
Would
positing.
would that register? Would that register as 7 ongoings?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
God, I hope it does, but I don't think so either. But God, I hope it does.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
Good thought though.
Because
damn,
yeah, I mean, listen,
scary.
Maybe it will, and that's even scarier. Maybe it will, and that's even scarier.
A 215.
Because then you have to think about Onslaught, because Onslaught doubles. So will that count too? I don't know.
There's a lot with this.
This is gonna be crazy. Okay.
There's a world where this card can solo a lane with the right help.
It's gonna be crazy.
Not solo, but you know, with like Onslaught or whatever.
I think you just run an ongoing deck, and no matter what, you build an 11 card ongoing deck, and you play Patriot in the deck with no other cards, because everybody and their sister is going to be playing Rogue and Enchantress everywhere.
Yeah.
So just have it in your hand, ready to go. Like, oh, you got rid of it all. Oh no, buff.
Oh no, here comes the real power in the deck.
Just
here comes Patriot.
Oh man,
that's a good play. That's a good play. So next season, just gonna run through the cards. We're not gonna sit here and sit on it. We got Kahari, who's coming out as well after Goliath, and she's an on reveal. Each card in your hand gives one of your cards in play plus 1 power. Again, I love the Yu-Gi-Oh in this. This is so Yu-Gi-Oh-ish right here. So she's gonna give, based on the cards in your hand, it gives 1+ power to each card in play. Phenomenal. And
she's a 4/6. Yeah.
Yes, and she's a 4/6. That's right. Here's the card everybody's waiting for, and I think it's gonna be super fun. And that's Infinity Ultron with all his 3 cost stones. All different stones. Love it. Cannot wait to get this card. Again, I'm not gonna dive into it because we'll be here all night. And of course, then we have a Death Strange Supreme. Now, I know you guys, if you guys did watch What If, it was a great series 1. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But nonetheless, this is
you
gotta definitely check it out. This is gains +2 power, and it's text, by the way. From merging end of turn merge one of your created cards into this, and it's a 2/2. Okay, I'll read that again one more time. Gains +2 power from merging, and then at the end of the turn, merge one of your created cards into this. So if you create cards, your Iron Patriots, your other cards, this will merge into it at the end of Brood at the end of each turn, and it gains +2 power for it. And this is not ongoing; it is text. So that's very interesting. And then, of course, we have Hydro Stomper, another new card coming out, and this one is +1 power for each time one of your cards move in this game. So move is definitely getting some love, and that's phenomenal, actually, because wow, right? You think about the bounties where you have to move 7 cards in the game, and this is going to get +1 power for that. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, next season is definitely going to be a fun season. I think every card is going to be in a high rating, because not only because of it being new, but just the fact that it's doing new things. Nothing here does something like every other card does, as Flash mentioned. So I'm pretty intrigued to see how what lists people come up with, because this last season, or the current season that we are now, you were able to sit back and go, okay, like Guest does, let me make 10 decks with this one card. And I'm sure it was easy for Guest because, he got that brain power. But I don't think Guest is going to pull it off for each card this season. To make 10 decks, I think you're going to be like, now make 1, 2. You're going to try to theory craft, because none of these cards do anything like any other card does. And I think this is going to be fun. I think this will be a real fun season.
Sort of, kinda. He will, but sort of, kinda. I only say that because
let's do it. I'm ready to see it.
Corey's kind of like a merge, but she's like a in between ground. What Gwenpool does and what what's the other card? Gwenpool and Galacta does. She's adding this power. It's kind of this weird in between, and it's the same thing with Infinity. He's literally the middle ground between what Thanos does and what Agamotto does.
Yes,
like it's this weird kind of middle ground. So it's like it's unique but similar.
Yeah. So guys, April, good month for Marvel Snap. What do you guys think? Yes, no, maybe so.
April's
Overall,
going to
yes,
be
for me.
better than we expect it to be.
Yes, agree.
That's a good answer. All right, love it. Now let's go on to the next topic, of course, and that is tilting. So one of our wonderful people in chat left a phenomenal comment and basically said, I like how you guys discussed hitting infinite this week. Can you talk about tilting next week and how not to tilt or what to do when you do tilt? And yeah, I mean, from my perspective on tilting is stop playing the game. Turn it off. Go play something else or just go relax. Take a walk, take a hike. Because when you're tilting, it is the worst thing on the planet. And if you're a content creator, streamer like we are, trying to tilt and still be on stream is the worst thing ever. How many times have we went and switched to conquest mode just because I'm like, I'm not playing ladder anymore? Or let's go look at variants. Let's go look at some data mines. Let's do everything else besides play this blasted game. So that would be my answer as far as what to do to stop tilting. But as far as how to handle tilting, I think, yeah, that's the only way you can do it. Because my recommendation is stay with the same deck and try to climb. But sometimes that doesn't work and you keep losing. So you know what? Stop playing altogether and take a break. That is my take on the whole tilting topic. Flash, any things for the people as it pertains to tilting?
Listen, of course, because as you know, one of the tags that
You're muted.
Unfortunately, it looks, we lost Flash there for a second. Try again. Take two.
Yeah.
Am I still here?
Yep.
Here now you are.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
good. Yeah.
Good.
So like I said, one of the things, that I practice telling people is that it's a no tilt zone. It's a no tilt zone because that's not my thing. Because what you need to do is, again, have a little grace, extend some grace for yourself and have some patience and say, okay, how many games have I lost in a row? How many cubes have I lost? How many levels have I just taken a hit on? You're like, okay, that's a bit much. Like Tech says, that's the best piece of advice. Just put it down for a little bit, come back and give it another go a little bit later.
Yeah.
Now, if that's not an option, you're like, well, I don't want to do that. I just want to keep playing. Okay, that's on you. That's your choice. You can do that. But now you need to do a lot better with your cube management, what I like to call cube equity. You need to be very, very in tune with your snapping and retreating, making sure that, okay, I know I've lost a bunch. I've lost 8. I've lost 4. You can't just say, well, I need to win 8 back. I need to win 4 back right now. No, you need to take it a little bit at a time. You win a game for 2, maybe you get a favorable snap. You might win 1 for 4. But if the situation, the board state, your hand, and none of it's favorable, you need to probably say, okay, let me go ahead and retreat instead of just trying to power through and be like, well, it'll work out. And then maybe I could just win back 8 right here. Don't do that, because then you'll lose 8 more and then you'll feel even worse. And then it's a spiral effect. It's a domino effect. So just have a little patience. And if you're going to keep playing, just be very, very astute about your snapping and retreating and your cube equity.
Well said. Well said. Guess your take on the tilting topic.
All right, everybody stretch. No,
Yeah, we don't need to
because okay. So for those who don't know, if you're not a loyal follower of my stream, first off, why aren't you? Come join me on Twitch, because then you'd interact with moments like I had today, where it was a I had a full on tilt moment because I was playing and I went down through a series of games where kind of exactly what Gaming with Flash here, who's co-hosting with us once again, has, talked about. You play to your percentages, right? If you have a 50% chance to win, it makes sense to stay for 1 or 2 cubes. For 2 cubes, it mathematically doesn't make sense to stay for 8 cubes. If you're favored to win 2 to 3, it makes sense to stay for 4 cubes. If you're favored 3 to 4 or better, it makes sense to stay for 8. When you go through a series of losses and you lose those percentages repeatedly, it can happen. I mean, mathematically it happens. And believe me, my record of the past month definitely shows that. And today it absolutely showed that. And there was a moment where I hit an all low for like the season, because I hit 93 earlier in the season. I went through a chaotic slide, dropped all the way to 83 from 93, started to climb back up to 85. And then by a certain point in today, I was down to 81. And I said, hang on, I need to go get water. And I stopped, put the stream on pause. I got up, I filled my water bottle, I stretched, I picked up my dog because I was frustrated as all hell for a mixture of different reasons, both as a gamer as well as a professional. I went into a full, conversation explaining to people different levels of tilting, talking about it from a creator's perspective versus talking about it as a gamer. And here I want to acknowledge it more as a gamer. If you want to know more about that, come hang out with us at the stream and it's on playback. But as a gamer, similar to what you guys are talking about with the get up and stretch and, change the idea. Normally that's because you don't realize you've created a rhythm, and breaking the rhythm is exactly what you need, whether it's changing the activity, whether it's changing the deck, and you do that for just a few games and you find your new rhythm and you're doing well, great. But if you have to continue changing the deck because you keep breaking it, you've just created another bad rhythm. So you got to recognize the repeats that are happening for you. Oh, I stayed too many times. Oh, I took my chances too many times. I didn't. I stayed for the turn 6 when I should have retreated too many times. It's a recognition of pattern on a hazardous level to yourself. That is one of the most difficult things to do as a gamer, and very often is what will lead to tilt more often than anything else, because you don't recognize it. It happens, and all of a sudden you're frustrated and you have to reflect on to why. The changing of the procedure of what you're doing, whether it's in game or just in life in that moment, go up and take a walk, stretch, grab water, change the energy around you, whatever it is in your set. Even if it's something as simple as changing chairs in the room that you're sitting in. Sometimes something like that can just change you psychologically and say, okay, I've reset now.
Right.
I'm going to throw out one personal one that I use all the time, where if I'm having a frustrating day, frustrating moment, and I use it for gaming just as equally. I don't know if you gentlemen have ever heard of the 4-7-8 method, but 4-7-8 is a method of breathing. It's a breathing cycle that is so incredibly powerful. And you do it for 2 minutes. You literally breathe in for 4, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. Whatever rhythm of speed you want that to be, just keep it consistent. Hold it for 4, breathe it in for 4, hold it for 7, and breathe out for 8. It's a triangle effect of breathing. And it just completely reprograms you. It calms your nervous system down. It brings you off of that edge that you might be feeling as a person when you're in those moments. Because you forget that when you're a gamer, you're still a human sometimes, as weird as that sounds. But you do.
Nope, makes sense.
And you need to address the person. So I always would recommend 4-7-8. My kids know 4-7-8. I have trained that into them. They know that one, and box breathing. If you don't like 4-7-8, you could do the same thing.
Box breathing,
Box breathing is basically the same idea, but the same number. In for 4, hold it for 4, out for 4, hold it for 4, which is hard for a lot of people when they're blow all the way out, whether it's 4, 7, 12, however long it is. Just keep it exactly rhythmic. Consistent. Everybody does it differently. I like 4-7-8 personally. That's the one I use. But the whole point of it is you need to change your rhythm. Create a different rhythm for yourself. By changing your breathing, it changes the psychological set of, I just created a positive rhythm for me. And by creating a positive rhythm, you change everything else about you in that moment.
Everything.
Yeah.
I like that.
Great.
When you said 4-7-8, I was thinking about Family Matters, one of the episodes that cracked me up when I thought about this Carl Winslow. He was dealing with high blood pressure or stress. And he didn't want to go to the doctor, but he went, I think one time he came home and he was like, he gave his awesome breathing method or this tactic. And it was called 3-2-1. So when he said 4-7-8, that's what I thought about. But it was funny. He was like, 3-2-1, 1-2-3. What the heck? is bothering me. And then he'll just breathe and he'll be calm. It was the funniest shit ever. And every time Steve Urkel came over, he'll say it like 4 times. He'll still be calm. But that's just made me thought about what you said, the 478. That's a great idea, actually. The 478 breathing does a lot of good, guys. You might think it's just a regular, but whether you have a panic attack, whether you're dealing with crap like guests just said, whether you're dealing with anything, breathing in a certain pattern really does help. So that's awesome. I know. I mean, me, I do the same thing you do, guess. I'm tilting. Okay, guys, be right back. And then they're like, yo, did Tech get lost? Did he get flushed down the toilet? No, I'm relaxing. I'm putting my feet up to think about how am I going to continue to stream without, getting upset. But no,
my
guys,
emotional support animal. So get emotional support animals. Get a dog.
There you go.
It helps too.
There you go.
Helps too.
So totally agree. I hope we answered that question to your fullest expectation. So on to something a little bit more fun and not so gloomy. Doomsday. Hope you guys like that. So Doomsday, the Avengers, that movie that is coming out with Robert Downey Jr. as Doom has a list of phenomenal characters that were revealed and the other day. Now, let's talk about the lead up to it. The lead up to it was a very cryptic tweet or message that said, ooh, something bigger than talking about Robert Downey Jr. being Doom will be announced by Marvel the next 24 hours. Now, we all thought it was something crazy or something big, something huge. I didn't think it was going to be part of the movie. I thought it was going to be something completely different, or maybe something for another movie, or movies coming out in the near future, whether it be Thunderbolts or Mr. Fantastic. But to see the chairs lined up waiting to go down the line was a very interesting take. And I was both excited and wanted more when I saw the list of characters. I'm going to list them off by their made-up names. You guys want to know what their real names are. You guys can, of course, know who they are. But I'm going to start from the top. We have, of course, Thor, Invisible Woman, Captain Falcon. We have the Winter Soldier. Well, see, so we'll go back a little bit. Captain Falcon is, of course, the new Captain Falcon, but that was supposed to be Captain America. Nonetheless, Winter Soldier, Shuri is coming back. U.S. Agent Shuri, that would really shock me. I didn't know she'd be back as Shuri. I know not because of the movie, but more so she was talking about she found God and she was going in a more religious path 6 months ago. So shocked to see that, but that's awesome that she's coming back. Then of course you have U.S. Agent. We have Ant-Man coming back, which is cool. We have Namor, who is returning. Shout out to my Rivals fans out there. The Thing, of course, Shang-Chi, which should have had a second movie already. Black Widow, Beast. So if you guys didn't see the end credits of the Marvels, definitely go see that right now to know who Beast will be played by. And of course we have Sentry, which will be in the upcoming Thunderbolts. Then we have Joaquin Torres.
Damn it, man.
Joaquin Torres.
There you go.
I wanted to say Joaquin.
You tried so hard.
No, I know it's Joaquin. Come on, I just want to see your face. You saw me look at the camera when I said it just to see how you would react. And then, of course, we have Human Torch, Red Guardian, M'Baku, Ghost, Loki's returning. Awesome. Professor X will be played by the original Professor X, which is Patrick Stewart. And, of course, we have the original Magneto as well. And then we have Nightcrawler, original Mystique. The original Mystique or the one from the newer movies?
Original
Mystique. Right? Original. And original Cyclops, which is awesome. If you guys have not watched Paradise, stop listening to this podcast and go watch Paradise right now. He's phenomenal in that movie, Mr. James. Then we have, of course, Gambit. He's about to make a name for himself. Shout out to one and only Channing Tatum. And then we have Mr. Fantastic. And, of course, at the end, Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom. So this movie is going to be huge. I did see a post later today that I did not pay attention to, but did you guys realize all the Avengers movie matched the Infinity Stone colors?
Oh, no.
The first one was blue. The second one was red with Ultron. The third one was Infinity War, which was yellow. The Endgame was purple. We have Doom, which is green. And I forgot
orange
the
just
one.
left. Orange.
I didn't catch that.
Yes, orange is supposed to be the other one. After the Doomsday,
After this one,
it's already orange. Remember the Avengers? What is it? Secret Wars is already orange. So
I didn't catch that.
Yes. So here you guys go. There you guys go. But yeah. So how do you guys feel about this wonderful star-studded cast of awesome individuals that's going to show up at Doomsday?
I am very excited for this. Very excited for this because this has a lot of this is where we finally, well, who knows before, but we're getting a merging of the Guard, right? We're getting a merging of the Guard. We're getting the X-Men in here. The original, obviously, this is some crossover multiverse stuff, right? So, and having that pair with the Fox X-Men is very nice because those characters are like beloved. They just didn't get their just due because those movies were what they were. But those characters played those roles well. It's not their fault. Those movies, were what they were. But I'm very excited for this. There's a lot of names here. There's a lot of merging and just the multiverse stuff is inevitable, for lack of a better term. I swear there was no pun intended, but like it just is. This is where we're going. This is where we're going because this is what the comics do. This is what the comics have done. This is the direction that the comics go. Everybody's might be up in arms, not everybody, but people are like, oh multiverse, that means you just get to do anything. And we're like, have you read any of these comic books? That's what they've been doing with these things for the last 40, 50, 60 years. That's what this is. That's what they do. It's just, they bring back characters die, they bring them back, they go to different planets. Oh, now there's a multiverse and this multiverse and that multiverse, and it just keeps changing. And this is what they do. Did you not think that they were going to eventually do that with the movies too? Like, this is exciting. We get to see all these characters. Like all of these characters arguably in the same movie is crazy. But that's got to be a 3-hour plus movie. But like, I'm very excited for this and the premise of this, because remember, some of these characters are from shows. Are you talking about Wyatt Russell, U.S. agent? Like, he didn't really make much of an appearance there otherwise. That was in the Winter Soldier and Captain America and Falcon and Winter Soldier show, like where he kind of entered the scene. But like, this is dope. This is just dope, and like I'm very excited as a Marvel fan. I know some people have the way they feel about the recent Marvel movie. Clearly I'm a mark because I like all of these movies. So it is what it is. I'm very excited for this and the state of these movies going forward.
Amazing. Yeah, I agree. Gus, your take.
This sounds like a badass deck to play.
Oh man.
So
wow, my gosh.
But for real though, like the actual
a lot of ongoing cards in there, right?
I know, just no Spectrum. But there's a lot of surprises in the list. If you didn't see it when it happened live, what they did was they released it on YouTube and showed that there were chairs, and then every 10 minutes they revealed another chair progressively. Yeah. So if you go on YouTube now, you can see that they condensed it down to a 1 minute, display of just like continual show of everything. But when they first did it as an announcement live, they did it piece by piece by piece by piece. So, and then and also at the same time, right before they would show the next chair, they would play the theme music or a song directly affiliated with whoever that person or character was. So we tuned in we were on the live stream and we tuned in right at Ghost. So we were like 2/3 of the way through already. And then all of a sudden they reveal Tom Hiddleston's coming back as Loki. I was like, oh, damn. Oh, that's amazing. And when they started playing the theme music to X-Men 97, you're sitting there going, shut up, no, shut up, no, shut. And then they showed Patrick Stewart's name. We were just going absolutely crazy. And then watching the list evolve into Magneto, Ian McKellen's Magneto, legendary level of, acting Magneto coming to the MCU. It's really cool to see, okay, they're really diving into the Fox element. And then they continue down that path with, Nightcrawler, Mystique, Cyclops. Those 5 specifically were in the announcement. And then they announced Channing Tatum's Gambit.
Yes.
And in my head, I went, whoa. Hold on. Stop. How in the ever-living hell are you going to give me Professor X, Magneto, Nightcrawler, Mystique, Cyclops from that universe, and then Gambit from the Deadpool Wolverine universe, and you don't list Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds?
Correct.
Yeah, true.
And just as importantly, let's not forget Halle Berry as Storm.
Of course.
No one should ever forget Halle Berry as Storm. So those
we'll never forget her at all.
Damn right.
Ever.
So these three, but they absolutely need to be in the movie. I'm shocked that they weren't listed, but at the same time, now it's going to bother me until I go see the movie. Are they the surprises that they make an appearance? Because you can't have Professor like that era of X-Men and not have Wolverine.
Not have Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, not have Hugh Jackman. Correct.
True.
He's going to do this until he's 90.
And where's the Spider-Man?
Okay, so that was
any Spider-Man.
That's tough.
That's tough,
yes,
but
it's too many.
Yeah. If you remember the end of No Way Home, he did have a conversation when he had the incantation done by Doctor Strange. No one knows the identity of Spider-Man anymore. So it's not that people don't know that Spider-Man doesn't exist. It's that people don't know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And if you go further towards the end of the movie, he has a conversation with Happy, where Happy knows Aunt May, and Happy, not Aunt May, Jesus. I'm thinking of the graveyard scene. No, it's Aunt May. Is that the graveyard? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is great. Yeah, it's Aunt May. So it's like they're at the graveyard scene and he doesn't know everything. That conversation was very telling that I think there's something else happening here in the future. And I think that this might be an interesting way to bring Spider-Man into the current MCU, like of this group, by saying, hey, listen, we've heard of this Spider-Man character. You know, Mr. Fantastic leads the crew. Pedro Pascal brings in like, hey, listen, we were brought here to your universe. You're a superhero and you're here in Brooklyn in New York. And, you know, we think you'd be great for the Avengers. And then meanwhile, obviously, no one knows that it's Tom Holland. And now he's basically starting all over again with this new crew. So like,
but you know what's crazy?
Go ahead.
Him seeing Dr. Doom as Iron Man is going to be interesting. You think they will actually do something with that, or will they just treat Robert Downey Jr. as a whole new character?
I think it's a whole new character. Now,
no, I know he's a whole new character, but you don't think that people who knew Iron Man, like he has Iron Man's face, they won't do that? You don't think?
You bring a different Spider-Man, a Spider-Man from a different universe. Not even a different universe.
This Spider-Man, everybody that saw Iron Man pass away. And Dr. Doom shows up to this earth with that Iron Man's face. They're not going to play on that. They need to, because I think that would be phenomenal.
They probably will. I mean, again, it's this multiverse situation, so we'll see.
That's my point, right? That's what I'm trying to say.
Which characters will even recognize him as that, and which ones won't?
Go ahead, guess what you want to say.
It's not the podcast for this. I'm going to say this to Flash because I think he's going to understand it more. But if you really want to see where I personally think the MCU is going to go, it's not technically Doctor Doom. I think it's Iron Maniac. And I'm going to let people do their own research on what that is. And I'll leave it at that.
That's perfect. Yep. Now let's go ahead to the end of the wonderful podcast. We read a few of the comments from last week's episode. I'm going to go ahead and pick some of these random here. Let's go with, of course, we did ask people to tell us why they're mad. And somebody here, this is Werewolf says, I'm mad that after all the work I put into put power down, so we saw that earlier, Shang-Chi destroys it all.
Jesus
I'm also mad that there are too many Snap content creators that are overcritical and negative about some of the cards, even call them garbage. I feel like it's a slap to the face to the amazing people of Second Dinner that create these cards. That's one of the reasons why I appreciate the three of you guys, because you guys seem to appreciate the game and the cards that others lack. You guys are awesome. STG, thank you for the Red Wing love. I love that card. Guest, thank you for all the decks you make for me to try. They are brilliant. And Sino, math is hard. That's hilarious, actually.
It is hilarious because I'm in place for Sino, and yes, I'm not the math guy either.
Yeah, there you go.
That's hilarious.
Khonshu, here's another one from Beta Ray Bill Lover. Khonshu might be might be what finally gets me to stop being a discard hater and actually play a good deck. Hey, I think maybe that's the go ahead, Peter.
I think that's fair. Yeah, it brought me back to discard, wanting me to try it again. I think Khonshu just brought and we kind of touched on it a bit. Like, it's a unique mechanic, and all of next month's like cards basically are similar ideas, where it's just a variation enough to make you revisit an old archetype or revisit a style again or build a completely new style of deck. Khonshu ended up doing that very much so. So yeah, I agree with that.
Correct. And the last one I want to read off, because I wasn't sure who said it. I thought Guest said it, but it wasn't Guest. It was Zay who came into the chat and said, if they were looking to get 9 points off the board with Hela, all they should have done was make Hela a banished card. When you play Hela and she resurrects said cards, she is then banished. I think that idea is pretty good. That would have been great. Then you don't have to worry about Black Cat getting nerfed to hell. All these other cards losing power. If you wanted 9 power off the board, kept Hela at a 9, and if you play her and she resurrects any card, she automatically gets banished. That's not bad.
I kind of like that, actually.
I think that's fun. I think
that.
Yeah, the Hela deck wasn't hurt more by the power reductions. It was hurt specifically by Black Cat.
Oh, big time. Big time.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but total was the 9, right?
No, I know what you mean. Together. Yeah, no. I know what you mean. I just think the bigger overall feeling, like they could have done nothing else.
Doing nothing.
I got you. Who was the 410? Who was the refresh my HD brain. Who was the Shang-Chi comment?
The Shang-Chi comment was from our friend. This is Werewolf.
This is Werewolf.
First of all, I agree with you on the second part, because they don't release bad cards anymore. That's what I try to explain to people every time there's no bad cards released into this game. Now there's a threshold of like, okay, this card is up here because it's like broken. And then this card is down here. The card down here isn't necessarily trash. However, in comparison to this card, it's trash, right? That's you have to do a weights and balances sort of thing with that, right? It's subjective, very subjective. Yes. This card isn't trash by itself, right? But when you compare it to, I don't know, Iron Patriot, it's trash. Okay,
yeah,
right. Now the Shang-Chi thing, I've talked about this ad nauseum, so I won't even make it a long thing. Release valves are necessary. Right? The release valves are necessary for all card games. And I hit a good point last night with this. Shang-Chi could, and a lot of other detect cards, could kind of be extrapolated into different cards, right? They could be different cards holding those abilities. But the only problem is that Marvel Snap's total card pool is small in relation to other card games. Magic has millions of cards in the history of Magic. There's 10,000 cards that are standard legal at one time for a rotation of Magic. That's a lot of cards. So it could just have a bunch of different things that have similar effects. Marvel Snap does not have that luxury because it's a smaller card pool. So you have to have catch-alls. Catch-alls have to exist because the card pool is smaller. Shang-Chi only affects one lane, but yeah, he will eradicate all your big things that are over 10. Guess what? Enchantress does the same thing. She will shut off the entire lane. Killmonger can wipe out an entire board if you got a bunch of ones on the board. We've seen it happen plenty of times. Luke Cage will take away all the negative everything on the whole board. Mobius, same thing, whole board. Catch-alls like that have to exist, and Shang-Chi has to exist because I'm sorry, not sorry. You shouldn't just get to have a lane that's 400 power, and I shouldn't have a way to get rid of it. That's just a fact. Like, you can't just get away with that. So you get to auto win a lane. And guess what? Just play armor. If that bothers you that much, armor costs 2. Just play armor. I don't know what to tell you. You should expect to get Shang-Chi or Kyera. If you got 30 power in a lane of big cars, you shouldn't play armor. It's your fault. Play armor.
Play armor is your fault. Jeez Louise.
Hey, listen, this is what you get, man. This is what I tell people.
Listen.
The counters exist for the counters. Like, that's why they're there. There are counters for counters in this game, literally. So, just play the counter if it bothers you that much. I understand you put in a lot of work. Meanwhile, Guest is building a house over there that gets knocked down by Shang-Chi because power must be controlled.
Yes. Power must be controlled. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is for this wonderful episode. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Gab Flash, thanks for being a wonderful guest on the show. It's been great. And I can't wait for next week, guys. I'm very excited.
Hell yeah.
Peace.
I appreciate
Very
it.
excited.
Appreciate y'all.
That's it. Just peace.
Oh, matter of fact, before we go, I'm sorry. Before I go, how disrespectful am I?
Uh-oh.
How disrespectful am I? Hold on. Flash's birthday is this upcoming Thursday, April 3rd, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, damn.
Flash is having a birthday subathon from 12 p.m. Eastern to who knows when. Can we please go and celebrate? We'll leave his socials down below. Make sure you guys go and follow and go celebrate for his wonderful birthday. Funny enough, on his birthday is my 2-year partnerversary. I'll be streaming that evening as well. We probably be doing some stream together stuff. So make sure you guys come and hang out with us next week, Thursday. All right. Thank you guys again. And I'm going to say bye this time. I'm not going to say peace. Bye.
Appreciate y'all.
Have a good one. It was such a passive, you've done this long enough. It's like, all right, we'll see y'all next time. Like and subscribe. No, it's text. So now Cino gets to rip you on your outro.
More ammunition.
Yeah. He'd be at for the outro. He should have been here.